Call the Finance Committee meeting to order for Monday, May 20th, 2019. Finance member Holly Downhour has indicated she's in traffic, so she will be here as soon as she can. I told her it's safety first, so don't rush. First item I have on tonight's agenda is Resolution 6919. That's a resolution authorizing the Service Safety Director to dispense with competitive bidding for the purchase of one 20-yard side loader garbage truck for use by the sanitation department. It's a good thing they put that in there. I would have assumed it was going to be for the police department. Nevertheless. This is coming through the Service Committee. Mrs. Bobbitt.
Thank you very much. I'm going to call the superintendent of the service or of sanitation to come to the podium, please.
No
He
hat,
looks like
no
he-
toter today.
I was going to say no hat, no toter, and he looks like he's got some fun.
This is our normal, once a year, purchase a truck. The only difference is, it's a side loader instead of a rear loader. This is small enough that we can get in and out. It's the same size as a rear loader. We can get in and out of the alleys with it now. It only have one arm on it, but we're headed that direction. And the reason I'm asking for one reading is $20,000. They give me a 30-day offer at this price. The closest competitive bidders we got with this when we went out was $119,000. So they gave, this Ohio gave me 30 days to accept the offer because they ordered a bunch of trucks, 2020 trucks from International, and they have one left, and they're offering to sell it to me at what they sold the city of Columbus their trucks for.
You mean 219, not 119?
Yeah, 219, I'm
Yep.
sorry.
Okay. Well, I have no problem with this. This is certainly a standard yearly purchase, so.
And the money's there, already in the budget.
Any questions for Mr. Burrows? Any issue with suspension? I assume that Melly will be asking that. Who's going to be your second on this?
Becky, well, wait a second here. Odd and even.
It's odd.
Yeah, so.
Flip a coin.
So,
No, this will be Jerry Woodger.
Jerry's on.
Jerry's on.
Jerry's
All right.
I'm on.
Ask for
Okay,
suspension
I got
on
you.
6919. Thank you, Bill.
Thanks,
We
Bill.
appreciate
Get it.
it. How are you? Let the record reflect that this down hour has arrived. The next item I have, we will go one reading on 6919. Next item I have is Resolution 7019. That's a resolution approving and authorizing the mayor to submit to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development the Lancaster, which is basically the federal fiscal year of fiscal year 19 CDBG Annual Action Plan and Statement of Objectives and Amendments. This is coming through Economic Development. Mr. McDaniel.
Yes, I'm going to ask Mary Jo if you can come up and address this.
Thank you. The legislation presented tonight represents the proposed 2019 Community Development Block Grant Program for the City of Lancaster. It's an annual action plan, and we are proposing various activities to meet the city's consolidated plan. The city anticipates receiving $478,510 in Community Development Block Grant CDBG funding. All the activities are consistent with the consolidated plan, which that is a criteria to actually apply to the federal government. These funds are directly administered by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. This legislation represents our proposed program. Like I stated, there's 46 activities. 23 of those activities are economic development activities, and with a cumulative total of economic development of $173,200. Economic development is one of the higher priorities within the city's consolidated plan. All of the activities that's presented tonight benefit low and moderate income households within the city of Lancaster.
Questions? No questions? What's your pleasure, Mr. McDaniel?
Mary Jo, this is a three-reading item, I assume?
Yes, it's 3 readings.
And it should be noted that there were applications submitted, public hearings held, and a lot of discussion prior to bringing the legislation forward.
Okay,
So 3 readings.
very good. And your second is?
Thank you.
Mr.
Thank-
Groff, would you second that?
Sure.
Thank you.
Very good. So we'll have.
Who was the
three-
second?
Mr. Groff.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Groff is the second. So we'll go 3 readings on Resolution 7019. Next item I have on tonight's agenda is 7119. That's a resolution to appropriate from the Public Sites and Open Spaces Fund 231 in the amount of $65,000. This is coming through the Service Committee. Mrs. Bobbin.
Thank you, Mr. Stoughton. I think Mark Clark is here, and he's going to speak on this piece, please.
Good evening. $65,000, public sites and open spaces. Last year, when we did our budget, we had no reason at that point to budget anything in public sites and open spaces. That has changed in the last few months. 50,000 of the 65,000 we would like to put in a line item. As you know, or as you probably heard, we have an all-accessible playground that's going in Hunter Park, multi-generational, all-accessible, and we'd like to have that money sitting there just in case the need arises and the 300,000 might fall short of its goal. We still need to put this project in one way or another. So that's 50,000 of the 65. The other 15,000, a property will be coming to this committee probably next month. This was on the books back in 2017, the Merrill Bowers property. Merrill passed away before he had a chance to turn this over to Lancaster Parks or the city of Lancaster. Now it's in an estate. We're going to end up having to pay somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 for this piece of property. This piece of property will be valued somewhere around $200,000. It's out on West Fair, and we'll get into the particulars of that. But eventually, this property, this 20 acres out on West Fair, would become the replacement for the ball fields at Miller Park. That's our long-term goal. So that, in a nutshell, is $65,000.
Thank you. And did you say that you would like 2 readings on this?
Yes, I just want to make sure that we are ready when this piece of property passes council floor, that we're able to pay that $9,000 to $10,000 fee for surveying, attorney's fees, and whatever that small amount is that we'll have to pay for that piece of property.
Okay, so I will be at,
I'm sorry, Mr. Woodard's got a real quick question.
No, just want to make sure, as far as I know, that the money still is there from Denise Cruz's funds to compensate for the loss of the baseball diamonds, because they will be turning that into a water area down there. And there's, I think, $125,000 set aside, and you need to make sure that you contact her about that.
That is still in
For
place.
that pause.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Mayor Scheffler.
We might say that we're not actually purchasing the property, but we're paying fees that are necessary for the transfer because the estate has no cash. Isn't that accurate?
Exactly. Yeah, the estate, when everything was sold, had an outstanding balance, and our portion of that 20 acres and that outstanding balance has yet to be determined, but we know it's somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000.
Okay,
And I know that $125,000 does not, I'm pretty sure it has no strings attached as far as it can be used for the preparation and getting this, it's for the baseball diamonds wherever you put them, but it can be for the preparation of the fields and everything. It doesn't necessarily have to be for the purchase of the land.
That's my understanding, too.
Okay.
great.
it is great.
Yep, who's your second?
So, this is an odd one, so this will be Jerry also.
Okay, we'll go 2 readings on 7119. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on to 7219, that's a resolution to appropriate from the LDOT Fund 208 in the amount of $145,000. This is coming through Public Works. Mr. Schoonover.
Greg beat me to it. He's already up there.
Good evening.
You can send him back and
Tell him to start
Yeah, I
again.
can start all over.
You're good.
All right, let's just start with the 45,000. The 45,000, I think if you remember a couple months back, Mitch Nolan was, excuse me, was here about the repair on the South Columbus Street Bridge. We were waiting on some pricing to come in. Apparently he's got that. So we went ahead and put this forward. This will go over into the improvement account in the bridge maintenance and repair line item. And we will try to get that bridge on the docket to get fixed ASAP. The $100,000 is material money that's going to go into 314. It'll be used for asphalt, stone, chip seal liquid, so on and so forth. I just don't want to run out of money this year. We got a lot of things on the books to do, and I don't want to get almost done and it's like, oh, I need more money. So this is also going to go over into the improvement account. So if we don't spend it this year, we will definitely spend it next. Both these, that total 145,000, will be paid for in my budget with the increase in the gas tax through the second half of this year. It should be somewhere between 375 and 400,000 of additional cash. So
that's good.
all right.
Question for Mr. Hens. Seeing none, what's your pleasure, Corey?
3.
3 readings.
3 readings. Yep. And Ms. Teener.
All right, we'll go 3 readings on 7219. Thank you, sir. Next item I have is 7319. That's a resolution adopting the 2020 tax budget for the city for fiscal year 2020 and submitting to the county auditor. This is an annual tax budget that I think the auditor told us about last meeting that she was submitting, and I believe we have enough time to do 3 full readings, or?
Correct, 3 readings. And then we're going to need to do a public hearing on it to give taxpayers or viewing audits if they, because I'll have 2 copies in my office for review if someone wants to come in and review them, but if someone needs to do to have a public hearing for it before it's passed.
We need to have a public hearing? Since when?
This is something, I think, remember when I asked about it last year, that we needed to do something to have a public hearing on it? I think I discussed it with you, or we did the email back and forth last summer after the last one was passed, of looking at interpretation.
I do remember something like that. I apologize, it's been a whole year. But yes, I do believe we need to have a public hearing on it.
So is this a change from last year?
It's something
It's a
of,
change in interpretation.
an interpretation. I was going through just trying to see on the ORC code of looking to see if there was something for us to continue doing it, because as this one, we're one of the few counties left in the state of Ohio that does a tax budget. So I was kind of going through the ORC code and trying to review it, and as I was looking at it and interpreting it in my non-legal fashion, I asked the law director's office to interpret what steps needed to be done or anything, and that's when she came across to, you needed to have a public hearing for it, which we have not done in the past, and so I am doing so since they.
Okay, so why are we one of the few cities still doing a tax budget?
The tax budget purpose of when it was done quite a long time ago was when we set this up, we asked the county budget commission for a bigger piece of the tax, the real estate taxes, the local government monies that come in through the county, to ask them for a bigger percentage for capital improvement needs or whatever we had. Well, we are no longer allowed to deviate from the percentage that's set down, so you're not asking for a bigger piece of the pie, so to speak, for capital improvement needs. But by ORC, this is governed by the County Budget Commission. and only the county budget commission can release it. We're, by state audit, when I've asked them, we're one of the few counties out of 88 that still do this. It's just a county requirement. They could release it and say, we don't need this anymore, but they choose to continue to do so for every government entity in Fairfield County. So
Okay. Mr. Wolfinger?
Yeah, I will tell you, over the years since I've been in office, I've asked that same question, and they're very hard, fast, and not deviating from having it. And like the auditor said, virtually, we're a minority county. Was it 7 or 8 out of 88 that does it? So if you have any influence, be happy to help.
We should ask the question. I think we can take a trip.
Maybe we
up the
could go
hill.
back to the county and discuss it.
Yeah.
This is nuts. This is.
Extra
We
work.
spend a lot of
I
time.
spend quite a
Yeah.
bit of time, the department spend quite a bit of time doing it, but I think the county budget commission uses it for the township trustees, all of them that they submit it at this point, which then the mayor and I will have to go to budget hearings in August at the county for this, and everybody does this kind of, I think, their way of managing the smaller. The schools do it as well, even though they do a 5-year outlook, they still have to go through this exercise, and it's kind of to no avail. So it's just a lot of work for nothing.
So we think we need a public hearing.
No, we definitely need a public hearing. Pursuant to Revised Code 5705.30, we're required to provide legal notice, copies that are complete and reviewable, and at least one public hearing thereon.
For the city tax budget estimate.
Correct.
Okay. Mrs. Teener, she has a question.
So do the schools have to have a public hearing too? I mean, do they have to go through the whole?
They're
do?
going through the whole, everybody's following
Now.
the same code of doing this, schools, everybody. And, you know, in my experience of talking to the different school treasurers and stuff, doing the things, they're not happy with this either. But again, we have no control. It's 100% at the control of the county tax budget commission.
President Dool, you had your hand up.
Well, so I might suggest we can set this for June 24th on the third reading, and then maybe I'll spearhead a group, and some of us will head up the hill here. So if you have interest in
I do.
joining that, I think
I do.
Mr. Stoughton, Mr. Wolfinger, the law director, the mayor, we take everybody. We'll get the
We'll get
schools,
the
we'll get
transit bus
everybody,
right
and then
up the
we'll head
hill.
on up the hill.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would assume you could get the Lancaster City Schools, everybody on board, I mean, because they're not, I mean, everybody as well has to go through this.
And are assumably spending the same amount of time getting it ready, just like you guys are. So, yeah, I mean, we might not get anywhere, but we'll give it a whirl. So, we'll see if we can set something up.
Okay. Further questions? So we'll go 3 readings on the tax budget, which is 7319. We'll have a public hearing scheduled for the 24th, and we will march on the county commission with pitchforks and whatnot.
Which building will we go to?
I don't know. We'll pick one.
Just pick one.
Pick one.
Half
We'll go to
of
all
us
of them.
go up and half of us go
I hate
down.
walking up that hill though. I'm driving.
All right. Okay, so, all right, well, very good. So we'll go to 3 readings on this as well, so, thank you. Government never ceases to amaze me. All right, next item I have is 7419. That's a resolution to appropriate from the general fund in the amount of $42,000. This is coming through the Safety Committee. Mr. Hall, this is your piece, but I'm happy to give you a hand here if you need.
You know what, I would really appreciate a hand, sir.
Certainly. We have Chief Ward up there. Chief, why don't you enlighten us?
All right. We budgeted 2 people to retire possibly this year. We had an unexpected announcement a couple weeks ago that somebody would be retiring, so we had to increase this line item. This will be sufficient to cover both of those retirements if that third person who I expected to retire does retire. He had been on FMLA for a while now, so this will cover both, and we wouldn't have to come back to you.
Okay, and your timing on this?
It can go 2 readings would be nice. I mean, he's retiring June 3rd, so 2 readings would be sufficient.
Okay,
Let's go 2.
okay, so we'll go 2 readings, and then you get to pick either Jerry or myself as the second on this, and you get to be the primary sponsor, so.
Jerry, would you say this?
Okay.
All right. Yay. All right, thank you, Chief. So we will go two readings on 7419. Mr. Woodward has the second. All right, are there any departmental updates this evening? Mayor Shepherd.
Well, in case you haven't seen the news or social media today, South Central Power announced their consolidation of their 3 locations into 1 location at the Rock Mill Industrial Park. This is the project that you've been hearing about for probably 6 months, referred to as Project Charge. They are purchasing the land, 42 acres directly across the street from the Magna Seating site. We have already begun the infrastructure improvements for that. They probably will break ground in October or after, with the plan to open up the new facility in early 2021. It will bring 180 jobs to Lancaster. They'll be closing their 3 locations, the one at Coompath Road, the one in Canal Winchester, and the one in Pickaway County. Would like to acknowledge and thank Mike Pettit for all his efforts. This has been a long process, which he's been working on for many months, kind of concurrently with the Magna Seating deal, and it's great to finally get to announce it. And so, it's, again, great news for Lancaster. Any questions?
Excellent. Thank you, Mayor. That's good news, especially from a part-time economic development director. Imagine if he was full-time. Further departmental updates. There's not that many departments out there today, so. Seeing none, I'll defer to President Uhl for tonight's meeting prep, which I assume will be a quick one.
It will indeed. I will toss it back to the chairman.
All right. Do we have any other items for finance? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second from Mr. McDaniel. We are adjourned at 6:21.
The regular meeting of Lancaster City Council will begin at 6:30.
There is no place like Lancaster, Ohio and Fairfield County, and like you, I am proud to call them home. As a longtime resident of Lancaster and graduate of Lancaster High School, this community is important to me, and I want to provide superior customer service, professionalism, integrity, and honesty at the Connor Insurance Agency. I am committed to supporting local programs and projects through my volunteer work and board membership with several organizations. It has been a great honor to work with all the first responders throughout Lancaster, Fairfield County, and the state of Ohio to put on Kids and Cops Day, to be a part of Shop with a Cop alongside the Lancaster Police Department and JFS, and to help Lancaster Public Education Foundation raise funds to support our local public schools and teachers. These men and women work hard to protect and support our community, and I would like to take this moment to say thank you for all they do. My goal as a business owner and insurance agent is to provide my clients with the most appropriate services and coverage for their needs at a competitive rate. As an independent agent, I have several carriers to choose from, so I can customize your insurance coverage to fit your needs and desires. I strive to make sure there are no gaps in your coverage that could be harmful, and just as important, that you are not overinsured. I look forward to serving your insurance needs now and in the future. At Connor Insurance, we are here to serve you by protecting what is important to you. Please contact my office at 740-654-2848 for a full list of services and carriers, or visit my website, ConnorInsuranceAgency.com.
Almost everyone needs a car to get from point A to point B, and many families have 2 or more cars. At Carriage Company, located at 1031 North Memorial Drive in Lancaster, we specialize in hard-to-find used cars. Due to the recent success of the new car market, there is a large inventory of used cars available for resale. We can help you find exactly what you're looking for. With over 15 years at this location and 27 years experience in the business, we are the best place to go to find your next car, truck, van, or SUV. As a member of the Better Business Bureau, we are a Carfax Advantage dealer and offer great financing rates through a local area bank with warranties available on most vehicles. We know your time is valuable, so we take special pride in making sure that you get what you came for at a price that you can afford.
Come into the Carriage Company and check out our sweet deals.
Stop by today and let us help you, or visit us online at carriagecompany.com.
The Frank E. Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. Feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our 2 locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster or 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. Respect for tradition, regard for change.
Good evening. Welcome to Lancaster City Council. Please stand with me for a word of prayer. Father, we thank you for this day and your many blessings. Here we are gathered once again, Lord, to do the work that's been set before us. May you lead, guide, and direct us tonight as we make decisions that are in the best interest of the citizens of Lancaster. We ask that you would continue to be with us in all we do and that all would be glorifying unto you. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. I hereby call this meeting of Lancaster City Council to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. If all members of council and administration will make sure their microphones are on, please. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Bobbitt.
Here.
Mrs. Downhour.
Here.
Mr. Groff.
Here.
Mr. Hall.
Here.
Mr. McDaniel.
Here.
Mr. Schoonover.
Here.
Mr. Stoughton.
Here.
Mrs. Teener.
Here.
Mr. Woodard.
Here.
Let the record reflect that all 9 members of Lancaster City Council are in attendance tonight, and let me take a moment to introduce and welcome our newest member at large, Councilman Mr. Hall. Mr. Hall, welcome. We're glad to have you with us tonight. Thank you for stepping up to lead and to fill in that particular position at large.
It's good to be here.
Glad to have you. Thank you. Reading and disposing of the journal.
I'd like to present the regular meeting minutes dated May 6th, 2019.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to receive and file the journal.
Second. We have a motion and a second to receive and file the journal. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Reports of city officials.
Email dated May 8th, 2019 regarding Economic Development Committee agenda submitted by Mr. McDaniel. Email dated May 9th, 2019 regarding new member of council submitted by President Uhl. Email dated May 13th, 2019 regarding new member of council submitted by Mr. Stoughton. Email dated May 13th, 2019 regarding draft minutes submitted by Mr. Stoughton. And finally, an email dated May 13th, 2019 regarding CRA board submitted by Mrs. Bobbitt.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to receive and file the reports of city officials.
Second. We have a motion and a second to receive and file the reports of city officials. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Are there any communications?
There are none to be presented.
Tonight we have with us a great group of students from Gorsuch West, and with them is Michelle Richland with the After School Center of Lancaster, and Karen Martin, who is the program director for Before and After Schools at Gorsuch West. And so we are glad to have you here. Please step forward, and we'll look forward to hearing from you.
Good evening. I am the site director for Gorsuch West, our before and after school program there, and we have about 18 students in our morning program. About 3 weeks ago, I came out of my office and went into the cafeteria, and I was greeted by many excited students calling my name, and they all said, "We've decided that we want to form a secret club. Would you like to join?" And they started to tell me about all these positions they had created. They had a vice president, a president, a secretary. Well, they asked me if I'd like to be the secretary. And I had no idea that in that moment my response would lead us to being in front of our school principal, Mrs. Garrett, and then in front of our board for after-school programs of Lancaster, and then finally ending up here. So I'm going to introduce them and let them tell you a little bit about what they have done. So we have our president of our Cupcake Warrior Club, Maya. We also have our treasurer, Zach, and then we have our security, Rosie.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. A few weeks ago, we wanted to form a club. We wanted our club to help people. We know a lot of kids can't pay for their lunch. We decided to raise money to help pay for overdue lunches. We are going to have a bake sale for the parents at drop-off and the school staff. All money will be given to Gorsuch West Cafeteria. The word is spreading. We already have 160 in donations. Thank you for having. Thank you for your time.
So yes, we already have raised, just by word of mouth, $160 before our fundraiser even starts. Our fundraiser is this Thursday and Friday. We do plan to have it set up outside the school for the parents to stop by as they're dropping off students in the morning, and then throughout the day in the teacher lounge so that they can purchase things. And the students have set a goal of $350 to raise from this bake sale. They are accepting donations of baked goods through Wednesday of this week, and they were sitting around talking about how they could help somebody in our community. They came up with a lot of different great ideas, but when I heard this one, Zach realized there are a lot of kids that don't have enough money to pay for their lunches, and they're sure that the school ended up with quite a deficit in people being able to pay, and they were right. The school actually has $6,000 of lunches that they've provided that have not been paid for.
Very good. Anyone have questions? Yes, go ahead. Do you have something you want to say?
Oh, is there any questions?
No. Yeah. Oh, are there any questions? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Mr. Mayor.
I see Councilwoman Teener passed around some order forms. How do we get those back?
I will pick up if anybody has anything, and I have an envelope I'm sending around tonight. One's on council floor and ones are going to come around here. If you don't want to do baked goods, if you want to put even a couple dollars in the envelope, I'll make sure they get it. And but if you want to do baked goods, I'm doing 4 dozen chocolate chip cookies. So if anybody wants to make any baked goods or whatever, I'll come pick them up and make sure they get it.
Very good. Others have questions. Well, I think we can step out in faith tonight, and those that are around this table, I believe, will help out. But I think we're going to get you to $350 tonight before you leave here, and then whatever else you raise, you can work to get that and pay down some more of that debt. What a great project! Thank you for being here. Does anyone have any other questions before we let them go? Well, yes, Miss Bob.
Real quick, who are the other children that are here tonight?
Those
One or two?
are my brother and sisters. They're
Okay.
here for support.
Support and security as well. Very good. Well, let's show them our appreciation for being here. The envelope is coming around. Thank you all for being here. We'll make sure that we get this back to you. You're welcome to stay through the meeting if you'd like, but you can also go ahead and sneak out if you'd like to as well. You're sneaking out. Yeah, I'd like to sneak out with you. I understand. That's okay.
Thank you guys for helping.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Just up our alley, Mr. Stoughton, a cupcake club. I like it.
I'm in.
Me too. All right. All right, moving on. Are there any petitions or memorials this evening?
sitting here writing a
That's
check,
okay,
I'm
right.
sorry.
That's all right.
There are none to be presented.
At this time, we set time aside at each meeting of Lancaster City Council to allow the voters and taxpayers to address us on any item or issue that you would like. If you'd like to address Lancaster City Council tonight, please come forward to the podium. State your name and address for the record and record the same on the clipboard that is provided there. Please note that while City Council members may choose to do so at a later time in the meeting, they will not respond to any questions or comments that you have during this particular time. In accordance with the rules of council, we ask that you would keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Is there anyone who would like to address Lancaster City Council this evening? Yes, sir. You can sign in after your comments if you just want to state your name and address for the record and then proceed. Pull that up as close to you as you can there, sir. Yeah, thank you.
My name is Christopher McCormick. I'm here trying to address City Ordinance 31104. It's basically stating that skateboarding, bicycle riding, and rollerblading is not permitted within the streets and sidewalks. I mean, basically, I'm really confused by this.
Sure. Yeah, as I mentioned, City Council will not respond to you at this particular time. He has a question about an ordinance that prohibits on the streets and sidewalks rollerblading, roller skating, and bicycling, I think is what you said.
Right, yes, sir. I'm really confused by that. Like, it seems really odd that I understand we have set areas for that, but I mean, any parent that doesn't want to take their kids to that, or just like in general, older people that use a bike to get around, basically you're telling them they're breaking the law by doing that, and I'm really confused why that's even an ordinance. In fact, even with our public people coming around, and plus the many things that it can provide for the younger generations. I mean, I've got a few points on that, because I mean, that's a community. I mean, for those people that don't like mainstream sports, that don't like actual team things, that's an outlet for them. It's definitely character development. It gives a commitment. There's communication skills, because it's actually kind of hard to learn how to skateboard. Like, not everybody knows how to do that unless you're going to YouTube or something. And plus, there's lots of other benefits for it. I mean, as a sport, and for just like public transportation for the bikes in general. I mean, all these people you see out there riding a bike on the sidewalks, they're breaking city ordinances, and why are we saying our people can't transport themselves when they don't have the means or the funds to actually get a car? And then you have your ecological standpoints on that, because that's a reduction of carbon emissions from the city of Lancaster. I mean, that seems like something everybody in the world wants to get on board with, and I'm not sure standpoints of everything on that, but I mean, that's just a secondary stance.
Well, we appreciate your time. Can you, for the record, state your name and address one more time for us?
Christopher McCormick, and I'm hoping for a petition against Ordinance 31104, Section D.
And your address, sir?
6150 Revenge Road, Lancaster, Ohio.
Thank you. And can you state the code one more time?
It's 31104, Section D.
31104, Section D. Well, we appreciate you being here tonight, sir, and as I said, we cannot respond to you during this particular time. Members of council or the administration may choose to do so toward the end of the meeting in new business. And I'd also encourage you that if no one does choose to address this at this time, to grab someone at the end of the meeting where we can have a conversation with you about this.
Yes,
Thank you for being here. Is there anyone else who would like to address Lancaster City Council this evening? Ms. Burnside. Thank you, sir.
Good evening. I come to you this evening to discuss temporary resolution 6619. I believe this is the second and last reading before you will be voting on it this evening.
Pardon me, we have at least one new member. Would you state your name and address?
I'm sorry. My name is Diane Wogan Burnside. I reside on Quail Meadows Drive here in Lancaster. As I have read some of the minutes of various committees and departments, I have to ask how this potential resolution is coming before you. I have reviewed the city planning minutes, May 9th, and there is a potential, and there are no minutes available, only a potential agenda. I have reviewed the Economic Development Committee meetings, May 9th, and there are no minutes available, only a potential agenda. I have reviewed Port Authority April minutes, and there was no mention regarding the need of additional housing for any of the current or potential businesses that have or will be coming to Lancaster. Upon reviewing the May 14th meeting, there are no minutes available. The Park Board, although there are indication of meetings on April 10th and May 8th, there were no minutes available, only indicated agendas. I have not seen anywhere that the city has done any type of assessment in determining that there is a shortage of housing in Lancaster, that there is a need that developers need to be assured that there is a shortage in the demographics that is not meeting this field. Why aren't the citizens encouraged to complete a housing survey? It could easily be done online. Paper copies could be available at the library at a number of community centers. Businesses could easily be included, even the political bodies such as city council members, city workers, apartment property managers. In addition to the basic demographic information, the survey could ask about current housing options, satisfaction levels, and issues that residents have faced in regard to housing in the community. A survey probe interest and demand from residents and stakeholders in the city. A time frame could be attached to this survey, and information would prove to be invaluable. Use of this information, then visit the rental and senior care properties as well as lots, vacant lands, community service locations, and blighted areas. Although a census is done every 10 years, it has not reached that threshold yet to determine, without proper research, whether the city management needs to, it has not reached that threshold yet to determine a big change in our population to warrant such a need as abating taxes up to 100% or for up to 15 years without proper research. When city government needs to hold certain landlords' feet to the fire in maintenance of property today. The resolution was brought up in 2 readings. Brought from where? And to bring advantage to whom? One word mentioned seems to be receiving no benefit. There are no pending apartment buildings in the near future. But the use of that data from that ward into a ward that will have an apartment building certainly skews the numbers, now doesn't it? And Mr. Mayor, last council meeting you stated that you were unaware who purchased each school. However, I have a copy of an Eagle Gazette article dated January the 26th that states it was purchased by Fairfield Homes, owned by Leonard Gorsuch, for the price of $251,200. And you are quoted in this article, stating it's not uncommon for old schools to remain vacant for years. So it's impressive that all of Lancaster's schools have new users, if not at least plans for them. And you went further to state that you recognize the need for new non-income restricted housing. That research shows younger generations are looking for smaller spaces with no maintenance and walkable access. Per this article, the property will have 27 apartments, 1 and 2 bedroom units, and a community space. There will be 8 additional buildings built on that playground area, and that area will include 38 townhouses and garden-style apartments. If this resolution is passed, taxes will be appraised on the land and the school building, but not on those 8 buildings.
You have 10 seconds, Ms. Burnside.
The gateway to the historical downtown, the same downtown that this city and many citizens have put thousands upon thousands of dollars into, where the Lancaster Festival activities occur. What if an entity wants to place apartments on that empty lot on the corner of our gateway, and the same deal?
Your time has expired, ma'am. Thank you.
Just please think that any kind of apartment can go on that square,
Thank you,
on our
ma'am.
gateway.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address Lancaster City Council this evening? Well, thank you all for being here tonight. Are the reports of standing committees?
There are none to be presented.
The reports of special committees?
There are none to be presented.
We have no public
Or
hearing.
wait a second, may I go back? I
Standing
apologize.
committees?
Standing committees. I have Finance Committee meeting minutes for May 20th, 2019, submitted by Mr. Stoughton.
Just thought maybe he was slacking off tonight.
No, he's not. It was me.
Mr. Schoonover.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to receive and file the reports of standing committees.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file reports of standing committees. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Yes, sir?
Do have a quick question, though. I did email the law committee minutes, so just so she can check
Oh, okay.
to see if she got them.
We will check. Law committee meeting.
That can be addressed next time.
That'll be fine. Thank you, sir. All those in favor of approving signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries, and we will check on those law committee meeting minutes that
And
Mr. Groff said
ITT.
he emailed. it.
And ITT.
And ITT.
Yeah, I
Okay.
haven't received them,
Well,
so
we
I
will
don't know. Please send them again, and I'll get those on.
So, yeah, if you could resend to the clerk.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. The reports of special committees.
There are none to be presented.
And there are no public hearings, so we'll move to the reading of resolutions, beginning with the second reading of temporary resolution 6319.
A resolution to amend permanent resolution 28-18, authorizing the Service Safety Director to advertise for bids and to enter into a contract for the Park Street, Locust Ewing Street Sewer Rehabilitation Project, offered by Mr. Woodard, second by Mr. McDaniel.
Mr. Woodard.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that council suspend its rules and waive the third reading of temporary resolution 6319.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and waive the third reading of temporary resolution 6319. Mr. Woodard.
Again, this is for the sewer rehabilitation project on Park Street, and I think we've discussed that.
Very good. Is there further discussion on the motion to suspend? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Bobbitt?
Yes.
Mrs. Downhour?
Yes.
Mr. Groff?
Yes.
Mr. Hall? Now I'm
Yes.
going to start this. Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Schoonover?
Yes.
Mr. Stoughton?
Yes.
Mrs. Teener?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Motion to suspend carries 9-0. Mr. Woodard.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that council and pass, engross, and enter upon the written record temporary resolution 6319.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to pass, engross, and enter upon the written record temporary resolution 63-19. Mr. Woodard.
No additional?
Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Bobbitt?
Yes.
Mrs. Downhour?
Yes.
Mr. Groff?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Schoonover?
Yes.
Mr. Stoughton?
Yes.
Mrs. Teener?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Temporary resolution 63-19 passes 9-0. Temporary resolution 64-19.
A resolution to amend permanent resolution number 68-17, authorizing the Service Safety Director to enter into an agreement for the engineering services for the Park Street and Locust Ewing Street Sewer Rehabilitation Project, which was formerly known as the 2017 Sewer Lining Project, offered by Mr. Woodard, second by Mr. McDaniel.
Mr. Woodard.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that council suspend its rules and waive the third reading of temporary resolution 64-19.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and waive the third reading of temporary resolution 64-19. Mr. Woodard. Discussion,
No
Mr. Woodard.
comments at this point.
No discussion on the motion to suspend. Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Bobbitt?
Yes.
Mrs. Downhour?
Yes.
Mr. Groff?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Schoonover?
Yes.
Mr. Stoughton?
Yes.
Mrs. Teener?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Motion to suspend carries 9-0. Mr. Woodard.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that council pass, engross, and enter upon the written record temporary resolution 64-19.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to pass, engross, and enter upon the written record temporary resolution 64-19. Mr. Woodard.
And again, this is also part of the project of parks and Locust Ewing Street areas. This originally came up in 2017. We're just finishing off this project.
Other discussion on the motion to pass. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Bobbitt?
Yes.
Mrs. Downhour?
Yes.
Mr. Groff?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Schoonover? Mr.
Yes.
Stoughton?
Yes.
Mrs. Teener?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Temporary resolution 64-19 passes 9-0. Temporary resolution 66-19.
A resolution establishing the Community Reinvestment Area 3 and authorizing real property tax exemptions up to 100% for up to 15 years on the construction of new residential units as established by sections 3735.65 through 3735.70 of the Ohio Revised Code, offered by Mr. McDaniel, second by Mrs. Downhour.
Mr. McDaniel.
I'm going to ask for second reading.
Second reading on temporary resolution 66-19. We now have first reading on a series of resolutions, beginning with resolution 69-19.
A resolution authorizing the Service Safety Director to dispense with competitive bidding under the Sourcewell awarded contract formerly known as the National Joint Powers Alliance Cooperative Purchasing Program for the purchase of one Heal 20-yard side loader garbage truck for use by Sanitation Department, offered by Mrs. Bobbitt, second by Mr. Woodard.
Mrs. Bobbitt.
Thank you very much. I think while Mr. Burrows is here, I'm gonna call him up since we talked on this a little bit in finance. I'm gonna call him up here again.
Let's
So
have
he
our
can
motion to suspend while he's coming up, and then we can
Well, I
move to
can,
the...
I'll
okay.
do that. Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that council suspend its rules and waive the second and third reading of temporary resolution number 6919. Jerry.
Mr. Woodard.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and waive the second and third reading of temporary resolution 69-19. Mr. Burrows.
Basically, this is our annual We Buy Garbage truck. We put one in the auction. Instead of getting a rear loader this time, we're asking for a side load truck that will fit into the alleys, that we can start more automation, and that I'm asking for the suspension of readings because they gave us a 30-day, $20,000 discount.
Very good. When you said that initially in finance, I heard we were paying $20,000. I was like, hold on a second. I was
The
excited.
Truck is $195,000, $196,000, and after June, the chassis go up in price. International Freightliner, they're all raising their price,
So we're getting a good deal here.
they're
Very
offering
good
me
deal.
a good deal.
Very
We
good deal.
appreciate you getting that good deal for us.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Burrows. Thank you, Ms. Bobbitt. Further discussion on the motion to suspend? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Bobbitt?
Yes.
Mrs. Downhour?
Yes.
Mr. Groff?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Schoonover?
Yes.
Mr. Stoughton?
Yes.
Mrs. Teener?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Motion to suspend carries 9-0. Ms. Bobbitt.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion the council pass and gross and enter upon the written record temporary resolution number 6919.
Mr. Woodard.
Second.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion and a second to pass and gross and enter upon the written record temporary resolution 69-19. Further discussion, Ms. Bobbitt?
Nothing further.
Other
Thank you.
discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Bobbitt?
Yes.
Mrs. Downhour?
Yes.
Mr. Groff?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Schoonover?
Yes.
Mr. Stoughton?
Yes.
Mrs. Teener?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Temporary resolution 69-19 passes 9-0. Temporary resolution 70-19.
A resolution approving and authorizing the mayor to submit to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Lancaster's fiscal year 2019 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan and Statement of Objectives and Amendments, offered by Mr. McDaniel, second by Mr. Groff.
Mr. McDaniel.
3 readings.
First of 3 readings on temporary resolution 70-19. Temporary resolution 71-19.
A resolution to appropriate from the unencumbered balance in the Public Sites and Open Spaces Fund, 231, and amend the certificate with the county auditor, offered by Mrs. Bobbitt, second by Mr. Woodard.
Ms. Bobbitt.
Thank you. This will be the first of 2 readings.
First of 2 readings on temporary resolution 71-19. Temporary resolution 72-19.
A resolution to appropriate from the unencumbered balance in the LDOT Fund 208, increase receipts and appropriations in the LDOT Improvement Fund 314, then the amend the certificate with the county auditor, offered by Mr. Schoonover, second by Mrs. Teener.
Mr. Schoonover.
This will be the first of 3 readings.
First of 3 readings on temporary resolution 72-19. Temporary resolution 73-19.
A resolution adopting the 2020 tax budget of the City of Lancaster for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2020, and submitting same to the Fairfield County Auditor, offered by Mr. Stoughton, second by Mrs. Downhour.
Mr. Stoughton.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a public hearing scheduled for the 24th of June, so this will be the first of 3 readings.
First of 3 readings on temporary resolution 73-19 with a public hearing scheduled for June 24th. Temporary resolution 74-19.
A resolution to appropriate from the unencumbered balance in the General Fund 101, increase receipts, appropriate from the unencumbered balance in the .45 Police and Fire Levy Fund 247, and amend the certificate with the county auditor, offered by Mr. Hall, second by Mr. Woodard.
Mr. Hall.
I believe this to be the first of 3 readings also.
2.
Excuse me, 2.
That's okay, yes. First of 2 readings on temporary resolution 74-19. Are there further resolutions to come before Lancaster City Council this evening? If not, we have no ordinances scheduled for reading tonight. Are there ordinances to come before Lancaster City Council? Seeing none, we have no tabled legislation. We'll move on to unfinished business. Does anyone have any unfinished business that they would like to discuss this evening? No. Does anyone have any new business they would like to discuss? Ms. Tina?
Could someone, I don't know if Stephanie could do it, or maybe, former Chief McDaniel could possibly speak to the gentleman that spoke about the sidewalk issue, about bicycles and sidewalks and things, and how that works with the ordinance, though.
Ms. Hall, do you feel like you're in a position to address that?
I can, if you would like. Lancaster Codified Ordinance, it's actually 311.07D, not 311.04D. But it does prohibit riding skateboards, rollerblades, or a roller skate device, anything with wheels essentially on the sidewalks. And the purpose of that is to promote the health, safety, and welfare of the general public, including the folks that choose to engage in those activities. There is a specific subsection in there that says that it's the intent of this section that none of the provisions herein are intended to impose any duty whatsoever upon the city or any of its officers or employees, for whom the implementation and enforcement of this section shall be discretionary and not mandatory. So for parents who wish to have their children on the sidewalk because they're not of age to be in the streets, there's a specific section of our code that deals with that. What we're trying to discourage, I guess, would be folks, riding down Main Hill on a bicycle at top speed and potentially taking people out.
On the sidewalks.
On the sidewalks,
Right.
yeah. Law enforcement has the authority to make a decision about whether or not somebody should actually be charged with this type of infraction.
My kids surely ride on the sidewalk, so gonna have to come visit me, I guess. And so just to be clear, we can ride our bicycles on the streets.
Yes.
Yes, but we're just not on the sidewalks. That's the
Not
deal.
within the central business district.
Right.
The business district is supposed to be free of those types
Of skateboards and bicycles in the business district. Okay.
On the sidewalks.
On the sidewalks.
Yes, but I can ride it in the street. And then in my neighborhood, I'm probably okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
central businesses.
Right. Okay, so that's very, very helpful. Yes, Mr. McDaniel.
I was just going to say, this is a standard ordinance. Almost every city that, anywhere in the United States has a similar ordinance protecting pedestrians on the sidewalk from wheeled vehicles of any type, skateboards, bicycles, et cetera.
Yeah, the sidewalk is for people to walk on.
Correct.
Not to ride on. Very good. Yes, Mr. Groff.
Well, I was going to say, but probably because the sidewalks were too dangerous for skateboards and sidewalks.
Mr. Groff, yes, I suppose.
But, no, actually, what I wanted to say is just to kind of chime in on the issue with wheeled vehicles such as skateboards and bicycles on the streets, is they are still to comply with the traffic laws.
Yes.
I see them on a regular basis, weaving back and forth from side to side on skateboards going down Wheeling Hill. I see them, bicycles going down the wrong side of the street. I see them running stop signs and red lights. And I just wanted to reiterate that the traffic laws, same as for autos and trucks, also applies to other wheeled vehicles.
Thank you, Mr. Groff. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to this or has a new business? Yes.
Yeah, and just further comment, and again, this ordinance is aimed at the central business district mainly because that's where a higher proportion of walkers and people on the sidewalk could be in danger if they're using bicycles and skateboards and everything.
An important distinction indeed. Thank you, Mr. Woodard. Anyone else? Anyone like to speak to this or any other item this evening in new business? Mr. Mayor.
I will comment on that. We do and have gotten a number of complaints from pedestrians in the central business district while they will step out of a store and somebody is riding at a high rate of speed and almost wipe them out. I have also seen a young bicycle rider coming down Main Hill on the sidewalk, ignored the crosswalk and ran right into the side of a car. So that was recently. So, I mean, this is a very necessary rule to protect pedestrians in the central business district.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Anyone else? Anyone have any other new business this evening? I'll just mention a couple of things very briefly. One, we need to appoint Mr. Hall to some committees, and it'd be my recommendation that we appoint him to the committees Mr. Bouse was on, which was to chair safety, and then on law and on water pollution. Would there be such a motion this evening? I see Mr. Stoughton. I see a second from Mr. Woodyard. Discussion. All those in favor of appointing Mr. Hall to those committees as stated signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Congratulations. And you'll be chairing safety, so the chief's back there, and I'm sure you're already acquainted, but, and there are meetings scheduled already?
Yes,
For
we went
safety?
over that at our
Very good.
orientation.
All right, very good.
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr.
a
Stoughton.
Point of order here. I believe we require a recorded voice vote on that motion.
On the appointment?
I believe we do.
We need a roll call vote. Ms. Hall, are you looking at that or something else?
Something else.
Okay, that's fine. We can do it. It's not going to hurt anything. We'll ask the clerk to call a roll then on the motion to appoint Mr. Hall to those committees.
Mrs. Bobbitt?
Yes.
Mrs. Downauer?
Yes.
Mr. Groff?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Abstain.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Schoonover?
Yes.
Mr. Stoughton?
Yes.
Mrs. Teener?
Yes.
Mr. Woodyard?
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0 with one abstention. Thank you, Mr. Stoughton, for that point of order. I'd like to take this opportunity to say just a couple of things. One, I had the opportunity to stand in for the mayor who was unexpectedly pulled away and present his proclamation at the Peace Officer Memorial this past Friday, and I thought it was a very moving ceremony. I'd not had the opportunity to be there before, and so the chief and his department did, as well as the sheriff's department, a fantastic job of putting that on during National Peace Officer Week last week. I'd also like to congratulate Lancaster Police Department on their being named a strategic partner by Ohio University Lancaster. That was announced this past week, so congratulations and thanks for all that you guys do in the community. I'd like to congratulate the mayor for being awarded the 2019 Good Scouting Award by the Boy Scouts of America. That was just this past weekend as well, I believe, and so congratulations to you on that award. And congratulations, and if you haven't been out, I got to tell you, the Shirley Wasm and the Davis Auditorium that was completely rehabbed is unbelievable. And I had the opportunity to be there this past yesterday, actually, as they did their dedication and grand opening. The mayor was there. Mr. Woodger, were you there as well?
Yes.
And it was, I remember when Shirley came to Rotary, probably 6 or 7 years ago, and told us what they were trying to do. And the thought that went through my head is there is no way this is ever going to happen. And they pulled together an unbelievable number of volunteers, some unbelievable donors in dollars, Fairfield County Foundation and others. Sherwin-Williams donated 150 gallons of paint and then showed up with 70 people to put the paint on. And so it's an unbelievable facility and is certainly going to enhance the city and the campground. So congratulations to them. I'd encourage you to get out there to an event if you have such an opportunity. Is there any other new business? Yes, Mr. Mayor.
We also need to congratulate Meals on Wheels as they had their ribbon cutting and dedication of the Cedar Heights School facility on Friday night. Likewise, when I walked into that building, I was flabbergasted about the change from what it was a year ago when they invited everybody out to look at what they're planning on doing. Wonderful facility, a great asset for the senior citizens, Meals on Wheels, and the residents of the West Side.
A great repurposing. I mean, you walk in and there are a few components like in the gym area where you can see the old windows, but it's a completely new building. It's unbelievable in there. So yes, congratulations to Meals on Wheels. Yes, Mr. Woodger.
Also, I'd like to congratulate our Lancaster Rotary, which you and I are part of, and the mayor attended today the presentation of scholarships, and they award $100,000 worth of scholarships to students throughout this community. Part of about $3 million in scholarships they have awarded over the last years.
Yes, $100,000 is a lot of money to give out. So congratulations, Mr. Woodger chairs that committee and is a big part of that along with the foundation. We appreciate your work there, Mr. Woodger. Anyone else have new business this evening? We keep it going, it'll be longer than the meeting. Come on, who's got other stuff? Fun facts? Nothing? Okay. All right, if there's no other new business, then we'll move on to the reading of our regularly scheduled meetings.
Upcoming meetings of council, regular sessions, June 10th, 6:30 p.m., following June 24th at 6:30 p.m. At that June 24th meeting, we will have a public hearing on temporary resolution 7319. Upcoming committee meetings for the next 30 days. Code Enforcement, June 3rd at 7:30 a.m. at the second floor conference room in City Hall. Finance, June 10th at 6 p.m. here in council chambers. Law Committee, June 12th at 9 a.m. at the Fairfield County Municipal Court Community Room. Public Works, June 14th at 7:30 a.m. at the Lancaster Public Transit Conference Room. And finally, Water Pollution Control on June 19th at 7 p.m. at the Water Pollution Control Conference Room.
Thank you very much. Are there any bills this evening?
There are two. I'm not positive how Spotlight Trophies and Awards will bill me, if they will bill me where I can pay with a credit card. So there is the possibility that it will either be Spotlight Trophies and Awards for $12 for the nameplate, and then PNC for MNCO for publications of ordinances, $170.45. So just to let you know, it will be reflected in the minutes next time. I should have a bill in hand later this week.
Very good, thank you. Is there a motion to pay the bills?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Is there a need for an executive session this evening? Seeing none, a motion to adjourn is in order.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much. Please remember to sign your legislation. Have a great week.